Hi guys, Scott Woodward to talk about the Penrith Panthers 2014 in the NRL. And look, that last year they finished, where did they finish? They finished 10th last year. And look, I think they'll probably finish round about the same again in 2014. They've done very well again in recruiting. I think their Moneyball recruiting has been second to none. Some of the guys that they've got at very good prices, there's clearly plenty of guys in their recruitment department that know what they're doing as far as I'm concerned. Having said that, they've put a lot of their eggs in the 2014 basket and plumped for the tried and tested veterans, Soward and Wallace. Many people would say that there has been, but the recruitment team wanted experience in that 6 and 7, and that's what they've got. And depending on how Soward, who is an outstanding tactical kicker, and Wallace go, that'll have a big bearing on how they go for the year. It's certainly not what I would have done. It's certainly like I would have held out and tried to get who I think is going to be our 6 and 7 for years to come, and it's certainly not going to be this couple. Look, I think they're going to be there for a couple of years, but it's a very young list. So I'm going to be interested to see if they hold down that position, if guys like Isaac John or even Matt Moylan can keep one of them out of it. I don't know. Maybe injuries will have a say there. But very interesting, I thought, the Soward and Wallace recruiting. Overall, though, I think the Penrith Panthers have done a fantastic job in recruiting. Let's talk about some of their ends and some of their key positions, and we'll see what they're going to do. Because they've got so many brilliant young kids on their list, I'm not quite sure who's going to be ready for first grade and who's not, and I guess we're going to find that out. Matt Moylan has certainly been groomed for the fullback position by many pundits, and I have to say I think he's overrated. And look, he may very well start as the fullback, but as far as I'm concerned, the young kid, Watene Zelezniak, is a well better, and he's in a class above Matt Moylan. Now, whether or not the coaches think that he's ready for first grade, time will tell. I'm sure he'll get a chance at some stage during the season, and if he's had a good off-season, they might just plump for him straight off and start him at fullback. But he is a world beater, and he's going to play rep football. They've also got Kierran in their side, who is also outstanding. So they've got some great young kids that can play fullback, and they've got some other guys in their list that are also candidates for fullback. So to me, what the coach does there in that position will be crucial for them. As far as their wings are concerned, David Simons went much better than I thought he would ever go last year. He had a fantastic year, and while I was happy to put a pin through him, he has to hold down that position based on what we saw last year, and he's an outstanding club man from what I've been told. Great with the young kids. Of course, they've brought in Kevin Naiqama from Newcastle. I'm surprised Newcastle let him go. I think he's an absolute gun and a rocket when he's got the ball in his hand, and he's another candidate who could play fullback. We saw the young kid import from Fiji, Nabuli, play in the grand final, and he's just a world beater. As he learns to play rugby league a bit more, we'll be seeing a lot of him. Don't know if we'll be seeing him in first grade during the year. The other wingers are Josh Mansour, an outstanding prospect from South Sydney who went terrific last year, and obviously James Roberts. Now, James Roberts is injured, and I don't expect him to start the season, but he's a potential rep player and one of the fastest runners in the NRL. They will certainly try to get him into their top 13 when he comes back, James Roberts. As far as the centres are concerned, Dean Whare picks himself. He's an international centre and went fantastic in the World Cup. He's a gimme, no doubt, every week in that right centre position. And I think the left centre position will be fought out by either Wes Naiqama, the very promising George Jennings, and also Moses Pangai. So there's a lot of depth in the centre position, which is always a good thing for any club. We've talked about the 6 and 7, Jamie Soward and Peter Wallace. As far as the halfback is concerned, they've got a young kid called Sam Scarlett, who I think will be their long-term halfback if he progresses as I think he can. But whether or not he'll play first grade, I don't know. And I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with Isaac John, as he has been signed long-term. So they obviously think he is going to be the answer in the halves there at some stage. So the off-season trials will have a big impact on who's going to be the 6 and 7. The forwards are very impressed by the fact that they bought Brent Kite. Look, I know he's an old bloke, and I know he's had a lot of football, but you know what you get from him. He's big and tough. He takes the ball forward, and I love a prop that doesn't make many mistakes. He just doesn't make many mistakes, and you know he'll give you good meters every year, every week, and opposition just don't like tackling Brent Kite. I think he's a terrific in. He wouldn't have cost much, and I think he'd be great for some of those young forwards. And I can see him combining with Tim Grant, another outstanding prop, and also the international Kiwi, Sam McKendry. So they have got 3 gun props there in that rotation, which is always very nice. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the hooker. Their club captain, Kevin Kingston, to be quite honest, he's not in the same class as James Segeyaro, and he should be the starting hooker. But they may elect to start with Kevin simply because he's captain. Now, whether or not Kevin can start as a lock forward, even a running back rower, I don't know. That's going to be a big question mark for the coach. But look, I just think James Segeyaro is too good to be bringing off the bench. He's got to be there. He's a very, very fit guy, and he can play long minutes. And for me, he's got to start. He's just got to start. Opposition coaches won't like him starting. They'll be very happy for Kevin Kingston to start. So look, James Segeyaro has to start as far as I'm concerned, and I'd make his understudy the very, very promising young kid, Kieran Moseley, and just bring Kieran on off the bench for about 10 to 15 minutes. And to me, to have Segeyaro and Moseley as my 2 9s, that would be an outstanding attacking prospect for the Penrith Panthers. So they have to find a position for Kingston because he's the skipper. So I don't know what they do. Do you bring the skipper off the bench? Do you play him in a 13 or a back row position? I'm not sure. Going to be interested to see what the coach works out there. As far as the back row is concerned, Luke Lewis will be a main contender there with Matt Robinson. And because of their high profile, Sika is injured and will not start the competition, it opens up an opportunity for Anthony Cherrington. Now, Anthony Cherrington, there was a massive rap on him when he was at the Roosters, and he got himself into trouble, and then he got some injuries, and basically he got booted out, and the Panthers have picked him up. Now, while he's had some problems, this kid can play, and if he can find his true form and the Panthers can get him going to his best, and they can give him this opportunity in the back row, you may very well see a very, very exciting young footballer in Anthony Cherrington. And it's just what the Panthers want because it's not a strong position for them. They've bought Elijah Taylor from New Zealand, and he was the Warriors' best defender last year. And he is an out-and-out lock as far as I'm concerned, but he can play in several positions, and he can come off the bench and he can also play in the centres. He played in the centres, you might recall, a few years back for New Zealand in the grand final and scored a try against Manly. So he can play a few positions, but I would like to think he's going to be their long-term solution at lock forward. But they have a few guys that can also be a contender for that position. Tyrone Peachey, for one, I have a high regard for him, and he's one of these astute pickups that the Moneyball recruiting guys have got. Tyrone Peachey, I think, has got a wonderful future. Adam Docker had a great year last year, and I think he has to be in the top 17 somewhere. Nathan Smith is a very good defender. Nigel Plum is a big hitter, and I think he'll be one of those rotation guys off the bench that will complement their forward pack up front. Jeremy Latimore, we know what we get from him. Chris Ahmed, we know what we get from him. And one of the very promising kids, Bryce Cartwright. Now, he's outstanding and he's going places. I expect him to play rep football, but he's very young, and I don't know whether or not they'll play him in first grade in 2014. If they do, you're going to see a very special young kid in Bryce Cartwright. And he's also a goal kicker, believe it or not. The latest pickup, the high-profile Jamil Idris. Now, he got himself into trouble at the Gold Coast. Probably wasn't managed very well, I would think. Certainly that's what I've been told. And Penrith Panthers have been able to snare an outstanding player. Now, while I think his best position is right centre, the Panthers have got a lot of depth in the centre position, and certainly he won't be replacing Dean Whare. So what do you do with him? I think he's big enough and strong enough and ugly enough to play in the back row. And to me, having him off the bench and coming on as a pinch hitter, with 15 minutes to go in both halves, he would be outstanding. And when they get him fit, he can certainly play a lot more minutes. So for me, that's where I think the value is going to be for Idris, playing him in the forwards, off the bench. You know, I just can't see him playing in the backs. They've just got too much depth in the backs, and they don't need to play him. They have got some problems in the back row, especially with Sika injured, and to me, that is where Idris is going to play. So we talked about Penrith last year. They finished 10th. I think they're going to finish around about that same position again this year. The reason why I haven't promoted them is because I'm not quite sure what their spine is going to be. In all honesty, I'm talking now to you in early February, and I can't absolutely tell you who the fullback's going to be, who the 6, 7 or 9 will start. Okay, now I know what I do, and you can see from the website what I would do, but I don't know what the coach is going to do, and more importantly, I don't know if that combination is going to work. But there's no question that the talent is there and the promise is there, and there's no question that Penrith Panthers are going places. They showed a glimpse of what we can expect of them in years to come last year, and if they get a little bit more luck with injuries and they can find that good combination in the spine, I think they're promising juniors and some of the good experienced guys that they've recruited will take them a long, long way. I think you've got a lot to look forward to if you're a Penrith Panthers supporter. Good luck.